Okay. This is the part that's going to be painful. Welcome to the final part of me talking about my personal experience with Destiny's 1 and 2. So this one's all about Destiny 2. Oh boy. Houston, we got problems. Is the short way of putting this. So, where do I start? I guess I'll start with when I was first playing it. I'd already done the beta, where I did Homecoming and Inverted Spire. But those were just small snippets. I mean, they weren't even representative of the final game, and I knew it. But I get to the final version, and I will go on the record and say this. In terms of a plot, an actual plot for the piece of content we've received, Destiny 2 Vanilla offers the best plot of any of the content releases so far. It's just, objectively, in my opinion, the best. Well, that's paradoxical. Objectively, in my opinion? Oh my god. What am I doing? It's subjective. Sorry. Subjectively, it's the best one. That's just me saying that. I mean, Gaul, all the cutscenes, all the story, all the characters, the character development, regaining all your lost powers, taking the war to the Cabal, reassembling the Vanguard, destroying the Almighty, all of that. It's great. It was, I mean, from that perspective, it did its job very well. So, I played through it quite contentedly until I beat the campaign. And unfortunately, when I got to the end game, the holes began to show up very quickly. Because when you complete the campaign, you get formal access to all the vendors, you get access to all the strikes and patrols, and you can go visit anytime. You get all the adventures and world quests. You get all that stuff. Which it sounds like a lot on the surface, but then the problem begins to show up. Like, right here. I'll show you right now. There is an important tab missing from this game. Records, or Codex. We had the Grimoire in the first game. It got totally trashed. Why couldn't they put it in the game? I fully expected being able to read some form of codex to get more lore. But instead, we get these. We get these little cards. They're basically the Grimoire cards you would come to expect, but they're on the gear. I understand this was their substitute, but I would rather have had a Grimoire in the game with all this information. So that's the first thing. Second problem. Look. Something missing? Yeah, there is. Where's all the armor on the perks? Where did they go? What? Mods? Well, mods need work, but where's all the intrinsic perks on your armor? Where did they go? Mods? Well, I'll get to mods. I mean, the cracks started to show. So, I started leveling up, I started doing the adventures, which I don't mind the adventures. I think the adventures actually added some depth to the plot of the game. Not the narrative, but the plot. That was good. World quests were hit and miss. The one on Io, in particular, kind of was a miss, in my opinion. Titan was interesting. EDZ was pretty well just run of the mill, and Nessus had a backstory to it, but unfortunately it just kind of got lost in translation. So, just those things. And then I did enjoy how the 3 of the 4 world quests gave you exotics quests. That was good. But it could change the fact that there were some things not right. Still not right. Because speaking of world quests, I'm going to show you another issue that this game had as part of its vanilla. Oh yeah, I guess while I'm doing this, I'll talk about strikes. To me, the strikes are average in this game. The only one I actually enjoyed to some extent was the Pyramidion. I liked that one, actually, quite a bit. All the others just came off as meh to me. Just boring. Oh, where am I going? Yeah, the strikes just... most were just kind of just too average. It's painfully average is the way I would put it, compared to what we've gotten so far. Now, I'll speak to Asher here and I'll show you another issue.
Yes?
Now, anyone from Destiny 1 knows we got a problem here. I mean, here's Asher. He's got adventures, he's got his green gear, he's got the Man of War that you can buy from him. This guy is a planetary vendor with planetary gear. Why isn't his planetary gear available for direct purchase after a set requirements are met? Vanguard gear was that way in the first game. Crucible gear was that way in the first game. Trials when you earned it was that way. Iron Banner was that way, which I'll get to that in a moment. I mean, so on and so forth. There's just so many vendors that was the case. What happened? Instead, we get replaced with this bare bones vendor screen with nothing in it. And then, even to take that even further, strike-specific loot was removed. Strike-specific loot was gone, so grinding strikes was pointless. Replaying story missions anytime you wanted to, gone. Replaying specific strikes, gone. Playing a specific PvP mode, gone. Heroic story missions, you can only do 3 a week. So I'm like, what? All these things, gone. Oh, no random perks at all on anything. Gone. None. And what I'm doing right here right now with the public event and being in patrol, this is one of the more redeeming factors of this game. The patrols and the public events are much better than the first game. You know, and as I was playing through, getting my power up and all that, it dawned on me what the problem was. Bungie tried way too hard with this game to appeal to casual players. Which, from a business standpoint, I understand that. Because the casuals are going to come in on the initial release and buy up probably the majority of your copies. So, of course you would try to cater to the casuals to keep them in for as long as possible before they move on. But in doing so, they discarded any forms of real grinding that take place in this game, which is what the hardcore players like myself had been used to in the first game. Which is unfortunate. Because I'm going to make myself clear here. Destiny 2 is not a bad game. No, it is not a bad game. If anyone says that, I'm sorry, it's not a bad game. It's painfully average at worst and disappointing to boot. And some people argue that disappointment is worse than being bad. Some would argue that. But oh, that's the thing too. That didn't even, but here's what did it for me. That just really just well, okay. This is the part that just really irked me. The Leviathan raid. Now, I'm going to be clear about this. The Leviathan raid is not a terrible raid. It isn't. But it has some intrinsic issues that I have with it compared to raids from Destiny 1. They tried this new hub format, which it was experimental, and I applaud them for experimenting. But like the baths comes off too much as like the totems from King's Fall. I did like the Royal Garden, though, the gardens, because it reminded me of the Gorgon Labyrinth from Vault, and that's a good thing. I actually liked sneaking around the garden with the dogs. The Gauntlet, however, can go straight to hell in whatever circle it came from, because that encounter is dumb. I hate that encounter so much. I have encountered way too many issues with my fire teams going into that, where counselors wouldn't die properly, projections didn't want to stay dead, people shooting the correct things on the wall and the gate will still say you're wrong. It was just... I appear to have lost my ship. Hold on, technical difficulty here. I've lost my ship. Oh. Okay. Okay. My ship just disappeared, but here's the Pyramidion. Okay, back to what I was saying. Yeah, Gauntlet can go to hell. I hate that encounter. Callus, though? I actually quite enjoy Callus. I loved... Yeah, I liked that fight. I mean, it looks great. I was like, I'm fighting Jabba the Hutt. This is awesome. I enjoyed the boss fight. I enjoy raid bosses in general. I think they're some of the highlights of any raid in Destiny. Which it's a shame that Callus was the only boss fight in the whole raid. So much more could have been done. But I couldn't ignore the shortcomings of the other parts of the raid. I mean, we ran, once again, it has an issue where you need a full fire team to even do the whole raid. You need 6 people or it's not happening. And that was kind of damning to me, because at least Wrath of the Machine, some parts we could do without a full team. Now, at the time of the normal mode, I said, well, if I had to rank it with the other raids, I'd put it probably above King's Fall. But even that didn't last long. Prestige Leviathan came out, for one. Prestige Leviathan. Oops. But yeah, Prestige Raid came out. The only rewards you get for that is cosmetic stuff. Armor, no weapons. No weapons at all. No different tokens, nothing. The rewards are absolute shit. Pardon my French. The rewards were shit, so I didn't play Prestige Leviathan. And then the challenge mode came out, and I looked at the challenges, and they were all stupid. Oh, someone needs to stay in the middle of the baths at all times. Everybody's got to hold the prism in the garden at every round. So the gauntlet, everybody's got to run and do everything once. And you can only use one plate. You have to use all the plates at the same time every damage phase on Callus. I mean, really? What the hell? I didn't even do any of the challenges because I thought they were dumb. I mean, and because the Prestige Raid and the challenge modes were so disappointing to me, I have demoted Leviathan to the worst raid in Destiny to date. That may seem cruel, but you know what? Tough love. I'm giving it tough love. I'm just disappointed. Very greatly disappointed with how the Leviathan turned out. And if anybody's wanting to do the challenge modes and hasn't done them yet, do them on normal mode, because at least then you get rewards that are worth using. Just saying. Granted, I only played Destiny 2 for probably a month after its launch before I finally just gave up and said, I'm out of things to do, I can't take this anymore. I got nothing to grind for, there's no strike-specific stuff, there's no variable perks on anything. I gave up. I was like, this is just mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. I mean, I have never had a piece of Destiny content that I only played a month before I just said the hell with it. That's not good. But as time went on, I knew Curse of Osiris was on the way, and I to look back on Destiny 1 and I realized that vanilla Destiny 1 really had a lot of bad issues to start with too. So I thought, well, I may go ahead and give... I was thinking about it, I was like, do I want to give Destiny 2 the same treatment I gave Destiny 1, which is to get the expansion pass on Faith and see if they can turn the ship around. But I wanted to wait until they revealed Curse of Osiris, which they'd already made the announcements in Season 2 that Faction Rally and Iron Banner gear will be purchasable directly, and they'd already made those kinds of announcements. But I waited and waited, but then they revealed Curse of Osiris formally. And after seeing the gameplay, the different things they were introducing, I was like, I could see the signs of a correction. A small correction. So I was like, well, I'll go ahead and get the expansion pass. And I had already decided up to that point that I would give Bungie until the end of DLC 2 to fix the game. And if they didn't fix it in time, I was abandoning Destiny for good. And then it was the second stream where they showed off the public event where the whole hashtag of 2 tokens in a blue showed up.
Got it. Do you think Asher's playing some weird science prank on us?
But yeah, that public event was shown, and I was like, this is the most rewarding public event to date. Bullshit. And look at that, I badmouth Bungie and I get killed by a laser. I was like, really? You all think that's more rewarding to just give us more tokens? I mean, I like the public event itself, but I did not approve of the reward system. But then they talked about all the different weapon quests that we'll be going to do, and heroic adventures, the infinite forest, and I was like, okay, we have the vestiges of something that could be good here. Which, from everything I've seen so far, I'm seeing a possible House of Wolves style expansion here in the making. Which I already explained how I actually really liked House of Wolves. But until the final thing releases on Tuesday, I can't say for sure. But then some more problems come up. The XP throttling. Bungie's apparent not wanting to listen. All of that got started. The microtransaction controversy from Battlefront 2K, which then extended to Destiny 2. All that came out, and then that prompted them to make that blog post with all the changes. The Masterworks weapons with rerollable random perks. Xur having more stuff, including 3 of coins. Vendors getting more gear. Mods getting an overhaul. XP getting an overhaul later down the line. Raid gear getting Masterwork stuff. It's just duplication getting thwarted by those faded engrams. Which, I'm not going to parade and say that blog post was the thing that's going to fix the game, but I think it's a start, but unfortunately it boils down to those things that they listed in the update, in that blog post. Those were all features that should have been in the game to begin with. But there's a saying of better late than never. So I think it's a start, but they need a lot more work because, quite frankly, it barely addressed anything to do with changes to the end game, which is vastly needed, especially strike-specific loot, in my opinion. That needs to be addressed, and raid armor and trials armor and Iron Banner gear need to be addressed. Oh, and on another note, replayable missions, for one, being able to pick strikes directly, all that stuff, that needs to be resolved. Yeah, there's a lot of work that still remains to be done. Oh, and then what's... On the final note, I'll talk about the raid layer. Everything that they talked about with that raid layer strikes me as a Crota's End style raid activity, which I am perfectly okay with, if it works like Crota. If I can do it with less than 6 fire team members, it's action oriented, the encounters are really fun to do, the gear is worth getting, with intrinsic helpful perks on both weapons and armor. If it's all there, then I would almost, if that is all satisfied, I would almost dare say that that raid layer could surpass Leviathan. But that still underscores my disappointment that the raid layer is on Leviathan. I would rather have had a raid on Mercury, to be honest.
Tell me, is the Genesis mine dead yet? Yep, went down like a ton of bricks. Yes, I've dreamt of revenge since I woke in the hospital without my arm.
Yeah, which, if I had my personal opinion, I would much rather they had made a Mercury raid and then revisited the Leviathan during DLC 2. That would have been my preference. But that's not what they're doing, unfortunately. But if this raid layer is worthwhile, I'll go for it. But, and that's where it stands right now with me. Much work remaining to be done. Many features from the first game need to be re-implemented. That's where it stands with me, and my opinion still stands. If they can't get this ship righted by the end of DLC 2, I'm not continuing. But until then, I am committed till the end of DLC 2. And I hope that they demonstrate, much like they did with House of Wolves, that there is a definite correction on the way. That Bungie is able to pull this off again. But time will tell. Until then, I'm here playing Destiny 2, and I will be covering Curse of Osiris on this channel. Because I still like Destiny as a universe. The gameplay is still fun intrinsically. So here I am, still playing it. But I think I've talked enough. I've given you all almost an hour and a half's worth of stuff to yak on about with everything. But that's enough for me, so Tuesday I'll be covering Curse of Osiris. If you want to watch, you're more than welcome to, or you can go watch one of the other community members. And I may make some impressions of Curse of Osiris. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. So with that, I'm looking forward to Tuesday with Curse of Osiris. We'll see what happens and what the future brings. So thank you so much for listening to me if you stuck through it and you want to watch me on Tuesday. See you then.